welcome to another SonicLAB. That's the sound of the Modor NF-1. Modor sounds a bit like Mordor, doesn't it? Kind of doomy and dwarves and stuff. It's not like that at all. This is actually a digital desktop synthesizer. It's quite unusual in the fact that it actually sort of, in the marketing literature, they say it loud and proud about the fact that it is digital. They're very kind of vociferous, in fact. They say that digital is great for quite a lot of things, and that's what this is. DSP based, virtual analog, but it's got quite a lot of twists. It's not your regular kind of format. In fact, if we take a look at the front panel, we can see it's got quite interesting futuristic kind of slanty layout. A bit like, well, sort of stormtroopers kind of thing. You've got these nice buttons here, which are kind of positive, old school keypad style buttons. And these interesting knob caps, which you probably can't see, but they've got this kind of like six-sided aspect to them, so they look quite stylistically interesting. It's made by a Belgian company. Can't think of a lot of Belgian synth manufacturers, but I'm sure you can put me right in the comments. And as I say, it's an 8-voice digital synthesizer, but it's got, like I say, a few twists. Before we go there though, let's just think about the build quality. It's got a nice solid sturdy feel to it. It's quite basic in many ways because it's only really got MIDI in and out, a couple of pedals in and out, so we've got expression pedal and a sustain pedal plus a stereo output. There's no USB or anything like that. In fact, I've been upgrading the operating system and you just send it all in via system exclusive, but it plays pretty nicely with that. So in terms of what the architecture offers, we've got 3 oscillators plus a noise source and a ring source. In fact, if I close up there, you can see. So each of the 3 oscillators can be anything of these 10 waves. We've got a number of waves in there, and each of the oscillators also has a modulation parameter. So it's kind of like a lot of modern VA synthesizers have this feel where you can dial an oscillator wave and then you've got this way of sort of modifying it so that you get all, it's not just a straight waveform, and that's what's going on here. You can edit also, it's kind of like Roland-esque in that way. You can edit one oscillator or all 3 or just one, so you can kind of tinker with them. And the same also applies for, there's 4 envelopes and you can select them all individually or select them all at the same time, so you can dial in kind of fast envelopes that have all of the same features. It's also quite interesting, and it's got attack, decay, release, sustain, release. We've got time 2, which is the time between attack and decay phase, and then the level 1 and the level 2, which is the sustain level and the initial level. So we've got quite a lot of flexibility here as well. Additionally, we've got a traditional filter with low pass, high pass, band pass and notch. Then we've also got a formant filter, which is quite an interesting concept that gives us these sort of vowely and unusual sounds as well. And you can put them in parallel or series and then blend between them, so you get quite a lot of extra stuff going on there. We've got a pair of effects generators. So we've got chorus stroke flanger, can modulate between them by having the delay button. And we've also got a sort of analog style delay with sync capability, feedback, and also a filter so we can dull it down a bit. And these add considerably to the overall sound. I mean, I'm a big fan of having effects in synthesizers, as long as you don't go too over the top and it doesn't become like programming a kind of old school 80s multi-effect system. And they've got this just right. What makes it very interesting also is it's got lots of modulation slots. So we've got 7 slots and we can route pretty much anything to anything else, and there are quite a lot of things going on. Now, before we get there though, I should mention the LFOs. We've got 3 LFOs. Plus a sample and hold generator. So lots and lots of modulation possibilities. But let's take a listen to the raw oscillators, because they are really quite interesting in the way that they offer you tonal variety. So we come to the oscillator. We'll start with a sawtooth wave. You can see from the spectrum there that there's plenty of subs in there. Lots of bottom end. Alias is right at the very top. The modulation, what that does is create this kind of, they call it a pulse width sawtooth, and it's a really nice sound. I do like that. Obviously you can modulate that with the LFO, which is hardwired to LFO 1, and the envelope, which is hardwired to envelope 1 too. Square wave. again, some nice subs in there. Goes to pretty much disappearing stage. And the triangle wave. Modulating this creates a sort of pinched triangle. Not quite sure what that's called, but I like it. Next one is the sync wave, which is sort of like creates a sync effect with the mod on a single oscillator, so you don't need to use two for that, which is pretty cool. Not quite as wide a range as if you were using two, of course, and there is actually no sync if you wanted to do it any other way. Additive wave kind of gives you this sort of fundamental, it's like a sawtooth, and then the mod just kind of creates a different harmonic series above the fundamental. Sonar, this is like a sort of, well, it's like a noise with a high Q, so you can tune the Q to create even more kind of like spooky sounds. Next wave is just like a spectral noise wave. Arcade, it's a bit like, I don't know, arcade rocket sound or something like that. Not sure how useful that is. The FM is quite interesting. We've got two types of FM oscillators. First one, let's drop that down a bit so you can see the wave. Nice sine. Then bringing the mod in creates the feedback. We can change the harmonic of the wave. 8 steps. Can't modulate that, unfortunately, which is a shame because that's quite nice. Then we can change the modulator. So if I bring the modulation in, there's 16 steps to the actual modulator frequency as well, which gives us a whole load of extra harmonics. And now this is the feedback FM wave, which gives us a different kind of harmonic series. And that's your lot. So pretty much quite a wide, I mean, this is where the sort of digital aspect of it starts to kind of really shine, because it gives us these really unusual waves, enabled us to do some quite interesting tonal things with it as well. Just coming back again, if we get another oscillator, detune it. The range is plus or minus 31 semitones, so you get quite a decent range in there. Same with oscillator 3, but we've also got a white noise source and ring, and that means if I take oscillator 2 and change the pitch of it, we'll get the ring mod, and if I bring the actual oscillator in. Again, we've got nice complex digital ring mod, but you know, a load of extra harmonics. Next up along is the filter. I think this is a 4-pole standard filter. It's hard to tell because it doesn't say specifically. Multi-mode, low pass, high pass, band pass, notch. It's actually nice and smooth. They've got good interpolation going on there. Bring the resonance up. Will self-oscillate. It's got nice sing-song harmonics, particularly if you go in high pass mode, one of my favourites. I love those harmonics, and then some interesting band pass. Where it really gets interesting though is when you start to introduce the drive. So we'll bring a bit of drive in. And you get that kind of smudge. It's a bit digital. But if we take the harmonic right up, we start to get that kind of slightly sort of quacky 303 kind of ladder, and we can do the same with the high pass filters. Take the resonance right up. You know, it'll start to get quite uncontrollable, and that's quite nice. It's a sort of, it's not analog, but it definitely has quite a lot of flavour, and that can sound quite good on some pads as well. One thing you can't do is you can't map velocity to the envelope depth, so you can't get those sort of touch, filter, twangy kind of sounds that you can if you've got a synth that does that. Maybe that's something that could be happening in OS update, I don't know. The other interesting aspect is the formant filter. If we bring the mix of that up, we get this kind of move between three formants. And what you can do, which is also cool, is change the vowel settings for each of the formants. If I hit the vowel button, I can change each of the characteristics of the vowels into all sorts of phonetic nonsense as well. So stick a bit of delay on it. And you can get straight into that kind of delay llama, which is a great formant and delay plugin. But you know, when you combine the filters between parallel and serial and change the mix, you can get pick out some really interesting and quite specific harmonics. So it doesn't have to just move; you could just sort of use it to kind of pick something out. So it's really nice. Coming down the slidey line, we've got 4 envelopes, which is actually pretty cool. We can edit them all separately or individually. Pitch is hardwired pitch, filter, formant filter, and amplitude, but you can route these however you like. It's an ADSR, which is a slightly odd layout, plus there's a time 2, which is the transition between attack and decay, and then a level 1 and a level 2. Level 2 gives you sustain level, and level 1 is like an initial level. So if we added attack, rather than it fading in, it just jumps. So that's quite interesting. We'll take the delay off there. We've also got 3 LFOs. Interestingly also, before I go there, the first 3 envelopes are looping. Double click them, turns them into loop mode. That shows up on the display up here, but you can't, there's no indication of it down here, just so you know. I've also got 3 LFOs, LFO 1, 2, 3, which are multi-wave, which is saw, square, sine and triangle. There's no one-shot mode to these, but you can sync them, so that's kind of handy. Also, we've got the sample and hold generator here, which again is routable via the routing, which we should get into next. So you've got a lot of modulation possibilities. I do quite like the way that you can mix and match, and it's a combination of menu and front panel, and sometimes it is a bit kind of finicky. You have to be in the right mode to access those parameters. Right, let's take a look at the effects. We've got the chorus flanger. If I play, moving through the delay, gives us flan, and some quite extreme or subtle chorus if you want it. Whoops. We've also got a delay. Which goes to about, sounds like about a second. We can get the feedback going right up there, and then we've got a little filter. You will have heard some glitching there when I was adjusting the delay time. Yeah, it doesn't do that sort of analog bendy delay thing, unfortunately, although you can modulate the time and pretty much all of the other parameters in both the chorus of the flanger and the delay via the modulation slots. We'll take a look at that in a sec. So just take a quick look at the source, the wires, these are called, the modulation wires. We press source and we've got wires right through 1 to 7. We'll just go to number 6 here, and in the source, I've now got all of these possible sources as the modulation source, all the envelopes, LFOs, keyboard, velocity, aftertouch, the amount in a positive and negative amount, and my hitting destination takes me through to all of the possible destinations, and there are a lot of these. They're not all lined up as you might expect. In fact, LFO 1 speed, you'd think, oh, is that all there is? But there are LFO 2 and 3 speeds are also available. All the envelope times and levels, masses and masses of destinations, and then literally once you're done, then that's your source and destination sorted out on one of the wires. One wire, one source, one destination, so it's effectively like a mod matrix of 7. You need to use a couple of them if you want to route modulation and velocity to amplitude though, so they're not sort of pre-configured if you like. So there we have it, that's the Modor NF-1 synthesizer. An interesting synth, has quite a different spin on virtual analog, although, you know, it's very strong on the digital side. And that's where I think its strengths lie. Perhaps not so strong on the analog emulation, much more interesting in the kind of weird digital ambiences and odd harmonics with that formant filter, and the effects really add a lot of breadth and depth to it. So there we have it, that's the Modor NF-1 synthesizer. An interesting synth that definitely has a certain something about it. I found that it was great fun to program, and I found that I would lose myself in sound and store lots and lots of patches. I like the layout of the front panel, I like the build quality. Everything seems to be there. It seems to be very much more about the digital side though than the analog. I think if you were to buy this expecting it to be a really cracking virtual analog emulation, you'd probably be a bit disappointed. Where it excels for me are in the odd ambient patches with really interesting harmonics from the filter and the formant filter. The effects also add quite a lot to the picture as well. It's not a cheap synthesizer, but it's an 8-voice poly, so you know that's quite a lot of voices. It would have been nice to be able to at least be able to split the sounds, get geotimbral or even more perhaps. I don't know if that's something that's likely to happen in the future with OSs. I think you're probably going to get a bit penalised in the US because as a European manufacturer, you know, you get that exchange rate mismatch. It's €995 in the UK and in Europe. Like I say, I'm not sure of the US price. It feels like it might be a bit of a luxury. If you're looking for something a little bit different than off the beaten track, then this might be something that you would go for, rather than your only polysynth or your only sort of VA. But having said that, I think they've done a great job. It's quirky, I like the interface, and it really does encourage you to program, and it is very easy to do so. Anyway, that's it. Thank you very much for watching. See you next time. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Bye-bye now.